This past week, Raw and SmackDown had their season premieres, and those are just titles that they give themselves. I understand that a lot of television shows start their seasons in the fall, but with WWE, they're an ongoing thing all year round. And if you go back maybe 10 plus years ago, they never obviously said things like this is the Raw or SmackDown season premieres. Those are just new cachet titles that they've given these shows just to get more eyeballs on them, just because they want to add some sort of extra little thing to the show to get you interested, get you, intrigued, that kind of thing. But it is really a stupid title. And what makes it really stupid is the fact that if you do go on Peacock or WWE Network, wherever you live, and you watch Raw and SmackDown from the past, they are categorized by seasons. So if you were to go to, I don't know what year of Raw this is, Raw, year 32 or something, 30. I think this is Raw 30, right? They started in 1993. So, all right, this is the 30th year of Monday Night Raw, right? If you were to go to season 30, episode 1, what you just saw this past week on Monday night would not be it, because the way that they're categorized is by the year, right? Episode 1 is the first one in January of Raw and SmackDown. So it's stupid for them to call them season premieres when they actually categorize the shows as seasons on their streaming services and do not follow that format. So under no circumstance anywhere is anyone actually using the format of this was the start of a season and last week was the end of a season.
You could get away with it being season premiere, even if you changed the verbiage to like fall premiere, because you know how like a lot of TV shows have like fall premieres. They could I could buy the season premiere thing because they could say, "Yep, we our new season starts in the fall," kind of like how football is. But you're right though. When you go to the streaming services like Peacock, it's so out of whack. You're right though. It's more so to get some interest on the programs, which I want to talk about Raw right now. And Raw to me it was a good show. I didn't like the hot potato style, like the tag titles. It's like they're playing hot potato, so to speak. It's like, okay, Cody and Jay have it. Now they don't like what are we doing here? Like, I think that's bad.
I'm okay with that. Here's the thing, and I saw some people say this about and again, they don't understand and they don't write for wrestling, right? It's silly when people say things like, "What was the point of doing that?" What do you mean? Like, what are you supposed to do, right? If you don't have these things happen, people go, well, what was the point of switching the titles? What was the point of doing that? Well, if they didn't do that, what should they just win the titles and then show up on Raw and just sit there quietly? It's a ongoing story. You have to keep things fresh. People are going to lose the titles to get the titles back. Like, that's how it's going to be.
Here's the point,
if The Rock is going to, what's the point of him being a 10-time world champion? He could have been a champion once. What would he have done all those other times if he's not chasing and going back and forth? It's like watching a NASCAR race.
It was too quick. It was too quick, in my opinion. Like, yes, you want to build the story, you want to add layers to it, because obviously the pop off at this point, the payoff is going to be right now. Obviously, things can change, between now and WrestleMania. Right now, it's Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. So we're in October. We still got a good half a year, just about, for WrestleMania. So for me, like, I didn't mind them winning the tag titles. But eventually, I felt like they needed to drop them a couple months later, even have it for a couple months, and build the story of where Roman Reigns was directly affected Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso's tag title reign. And then you build something where it's a twofold. You're building it where, okay, Roman and Cody are now going to be taking their battle all the way to WrestleMania. And then you're going to build Jimmy and Jey to WrestleMania, because that's coming. They're going to have a big match. Brothers Uso, Jimmy and Jey are going to face off in a one-on-one match. That's coming, but for me, like, I felt like they needed to build this up a little bit more. I felt like it was the right idea of dropping the tag titles at some point, like sooner rather than later, but not this soon. I don't like the hot potato portion of it.
I do see that they could have at least waited till Crown Jewel or something like that and had a match at Crown Jewel. I understand that. But yeah, I mean, it's like back and forth. It's, so wrestling's scripted, right? And sometimes they have, best of 7 for the Intercontinental Championship or something. It'd be stupid to say, well, what was the reason of having Chris Jericho win 3 matches if, Eddie Guerrero's going to win 4 and beat him 4-3. Well, because that's the idea here. You know what I mean? We go back and forth. We have a story. We not just have a story too, but we also have weekly television that we have to keep fresh. So it's not always just about the long-term story of things. It's also just about the here and now, because they're the champs now. Maybe it won't be the champs next week. It's keeping you intrigued. It's keeping the wheels of all of this just rowing and moving all at the same time, right? When you watch a baseball game or a basketball game, right? What's the point of them scoring 99 points if the other team was going to score 100 and win the whole time? What they just came out there and scored all the baskets and the other team shouldn't have went back and forth? Even if sports was scripted, they would script it to have one team winning sometimes and one team winning and going back and forth so that you keep your eyeballs on it. So there's long term.
You can still keep it fresh though. You can still keep it fresh and keep the titles on them for at least a little bit. There's so much potential. And so many
Roman Reigns, right? He's had the championship for so long, and you're keeping things fresh.
And here's the other thing: not only has Roman Reigns had his title for so freaking long, so has Gunther. Gunther's got a record reign right now for the Intercontinental Championship, and he had another great match this week against I guess he's not Colossal Bronson Reed anymore. Now he's Big Bronson Reed. I don't know why they changed that. I kind of like the Colossal portion of it better. But that was a hell of a match. That was fun. That was Gunther, that's pure. That's just Gunther being Gunther, and Bronson Reed. Kudos to him as well. There were some really good spots in that match. So to me, it just highlights again, Gunther he's just on a different level than so many other dudes in this business. So that was a hell of a match. What did you think of that match?
No, I mean, Gunther is much watched TV, and from what I've been noticing, he is specifically being held to the Monday Night Raw brand. And as we know, it was announced today that he is going to be at a house show in Rochester, New York on November the 4th, which is the same day as Crown Jewel. So he won't be defending his title at the pay-per-view. So it seems like the Intercontinental Championship right now is like a TV-only title. But I think Gunther's carrying Monday Night Raw. He's carrying the television right now for WWE. And I don't mind that he is your quote-unquote TV champion. And I think, it's intrigue. He's had a lot of interesting opponents. Nobody I thought who could really take the title off him, but opponents that are still formidable foes nonetheless, like Bronson Reed or Chad Gable. But one thing I want to talk about when we move over to the season premiere of SmackDown is WWE's got to love this. And what I mean by love this is they got to love what WWE always talks about, is that nobody outside of WWE means anything to people within WWE. And we saw that no more apparent than with the debut, right? Because they didn't even give him music because no one would know what it is. The debut of one of the most prestigious wrestlers on the planet right now as the general manager of SmackDown, Nick Aldis, who got the silent treatment, right? I mean, Corey Graves was going crazy. Corey Graves and everybody else knows him very well within the business, right? He's one of the best wrestlers out there, right? He's of Gunther quality when it comes to his technical prowess, his athletic abilities, his achievements in the ring. But because he's never been in WWE, it's silence. And WWE's got to kind of like that because they're like, see exactly right there. You think you're this big star. You think you're someone great. You think that if you came out number 30 at the Alamo Dome for the Royal Rumble, the place would go crazy. Think again, right? We are the WWE, and we really decide. And the fans showed him essentially in the arena this past week on SmackDown. Yeah, you're not anybody because you've never not been in WWE, according to WWE fans. So WWE's probably got to like that. To know.
You know what I was thinking though when he came into the ring and he was announced as a general manager. My thoughts were, okay, so if Vince was still running things, that would probably be LA Knight. That's kind of what I was thinking because, obviously Vince had some weird thing with LA Knight where obviously he didn't see what we all see in LA Knight apparently, and LA Knight's he's the megastar obviously, he's one of the biggest draws in the business. His t-shirt sales, his merchandise sales in general are absolutely freaking crazy right now. They're popping off. So when I saw Nick Aldis, I'm like, okay, this is their way of pivoting from what Vince's plan was all along, which is probably going to be LA Knight. So, and you're right though, Nick Aldis, because of his career that was a very good in-ring career at every major promotion that I don't think he wrestled in AEW, did I? don't think he stepped in there, but if I'm not mistaken, I think the AEW and WWE are the two biggest ones right now. I think that I don't
But
think he did Japan either.
NWA, he made obviously more recently with Billy
Yeah,
Corgan's NWA, Impact Wrestling.
he wasn't. He also I don't think he was. Was he in? Oh no, he was. I was gonna say he was in New Japan, wasn't he? Yeah, he was. I was just thinking about it. So he wasn't. He was in every major promotion other than WWE and AEW. So like obviously, like you mentioned, like he's been world travel. He's been one of the best wrestlers in the business for a long time. And I believe at one point, like I think he was in. He was probably in the top 10 for the PWI Illustrated stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, he's held the NWA championship, and then the fun thing is, if for some reason you wanted to have like the two general managers ever in a match, this isn't going to be like Teddy Long versus John Laurinaitis, even though John Laurinaitis is a good wrestler in his own day, right? But Adam Pearce versus Nick Aldis, boy, that would be one of the better general manager versus general manager matches you could probably ever have right there. Because those guys essentially were not even really done with their careers. I mean, they're obviously all younger than people like Sting, who's still going. They're younger than Triple H. So that would be quite the match there. But I know you wanted to talk about the split up of the tag team of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Now, we saw Sami Zayn doing some singles stuff earlier in 2023, right, with Roman Reigns and getting that match, under his belt. Do you think WWE is going to potentially put him into the main event spotlight, put him against the Seth Rollins of the world, or do you think he's going to be back kind of where Sami Zayn was most of his career within WWE?
I think it's time to push him to the heavyweight championship. I think that's my opinion. I think it's time. And and here's the thing. We've been doing this show for what, 6, almost 7 years. And there were times that I was not really the biggest fan of Sami Zayn. And I'm okay with owning that because you know what, as a wrestling fan, we go through phases where we like certain people, we don't like certain people. That's just how the business is. And then you always have the ones you always like. Sami Zayn's the one where it was kind of like I liked him, I didn't like him, I liked him, I didn't like him. For me, he's doing some really quality work. And I feel like they're planting those seeds a little bit, on Raw this past week. I do feel like the guy who's going to take Seth Rollins' belt is Sami Zayn. I feel like Sami Zayn that's going to be Seth Rollins' next loss. That is my guess. That is my opinion. But I don't think you can call me crazy. I'll let you decide for that in a second. But Sami Zayn to me is the next heavyweight champion after Seth Rollins. Am I crazy, or can you believe
that's definitely a way to keep things fresh. That's definitely a way to satisfy Sami Zayn earlier in 2023, not reaching the mountaintop because he was facing someone like Roman Reigns. And that's kind of what this title was created for, right? This title is a secondary title. This title is no offense, and obviously Cody Rhodes might beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, but this is kind of like the Cody Rhodes Invitational belt, right? This is for people who couldn't beat Roman Reigns, but there still should be a championship so that they can be acknowledged. So for the Sami Zayns of the world, for the current champions like Seth Rollins of the world, right? So those people, Finn Balor even fell to Roman Reigns in his current title reign. So that's what this title is created for. You got to think, obviously, on the other side of things, Kevin Owens finds himself up against quite a steep hill because he's already had multiple matches against Roman Reigns for that World Heavyweight title, including 2 at the Royal Rumble, including 1 at a Royal Rumble where they're returning to this year at Tropicana Field. So that's not going to happen. But he's on SmackDown now where Roman is that champion. So Kevin Owens can really just be in a lot of big-time feuds with maybe people like LA Knight. But I don't think while Roman Reigns is the champion, which I imagine he will be for the next 6 months at least, that he's going to be going for that belt, right? He's gone for it enough. So that is the one negative for Kevin Owens moving over to SmackDown. He's moving over to face a champion he's not going to be end up facing. Well, obviously, the chances for Sami Zayn on Raw against a new champion in Seth Rollins, or a new chance at a new champion. Seth Rollins has been champion for a while, but something that is more of an open opportunity for Seth Rollins on Raw, much more than it is for Kevin Owens on SmackDown.
It is. In much respect to Kevin Owens for everything he's done for the business since he's been in WWE and before. He's had a hell of a career. For me, you made a great point. It really is like Roman Reigns is going to hold on to that belt very tightly until Cody Rhodes takes it off of him at WrestleMania in Philly this coming year. That I don't think, to me, Kevin Owens' ceiling on SmackDown is the U.S. title. Now, speaking of the U.S. title, Obviously Rey Mysterio is a champion. There's been that talk of Logan Paul calling him out after the boxing match. To me, I would like to see Kevin Owens as the United States champion. I think he would bring a little something different to the U.S. title picture. Nothing against Rey Mysterio, but it's time for Rey Mysterio to pass that torch to another champion. I know his reign hasn't been that long, but I would like to see Kevin Owens with a belt. At the same time, I know what WWE's probably thinking. Maybe they'll put that belt on Logan Paul, which is crazy to think, but it wouldn't surprise me because of the draw that Logan Paul is, whether people like him or not. He's a draw. And Kevin Owens doesn't need the belt necessarily. I just feel like he deserves a belt because he's just been so good for the business. He's a lot of fun to watch. And he would be a fighting champion because he's fight Owens fight, and he likes to fight. That's his thing. His mantra, especially recently, is like, why are we talking? Let's throw fists. Let's fight. Let's go. Like, that's the kind of champion I want, for a United States champion. So I feel like he could be that champion, and then Sami Zayn could take the belt from Seth Rollins and be the heavyweight champion on Raw. I think that's not a bad thing. I think that would be good. And then eventually WWE is going to do what they do. Eventually it's going to cycle back around. You're going to see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens hating each other again, and we're going to do that circle at least one or two more times, if not more.